Right, here we go again. Another job on the Escort. So on the wing, we've finished off this fillet piece on here. So that's today's video, showing how we did that and what was there before, how we took that out, and how we fabricated the new panel for that. Fairly easy. We just made out 3 or 4 pieces and welded together. A little bit of hammer forming over the vise to show how we do that as well. I thought it was going to be a bit more hassle than it was, and straightforward enough. And we converted this now from a 4-door wing to a 2-door wing as well in the process. So funnily enough, I was looking back on my eBay purchases to see how much I paid for that wing. It was actually £22. So bargain, and it's cost me nothing really other than time and a bit of scrap metal to repair it. And it's now a complete wing. That's really paid off putting the effort into that. So keep watching, and I'm sure you'll enjoy. Right, so you can see on the wing, it's pretty rotten anyway. You know, it's all rotten in there, but it seems the rot is localized just to this fillet. Thankfully, the actual wing lip is quite nice. There's no evidence of it coming through on there. So plan is to cut this off and start again from scratch and cut it off. There's a spot weld there, so I can release this fold over here just a little bit so a new one can be tucked into there. Now this section here on the new one will be pretty much straight, and what I intend to do is similar to what I did with this repair here for the, well, that repair there for the wing, is cut a strip to suit, which will pretty much just lay flat on here, screw it on here, and then cut a fillet, a piece which you make a fillet from, and then shape that and weld it to that, and then we work on making it suit the wing. Okay, first thing to do is measure what we're looking at. So what effectively we're going to be doing is from about here somewhere is just adding a strip down. Right, that's that cut out. So all we really need to do with this is simply screw that to there somewhere and follow the shape of that around close to the end here. As simple as that. So let's do that. And then we can start bending this around here, ready to form a bit that drops around there. This is a nice thin strip of steel. You can bend it and manipulate it quite easily. I think we need to come to just about there somewhere. Let's snip that off. Right, so we can see on the original wing, it just pretty much goes straight up there. What I'm thinking of doing is tucking it in and having the flange so it fits more nicely in there, so there's no gap there to be worrying about filling up. Right, next step, let's cut the old one off. Tease this open slightly, just very gently going in with the screwdriver, gently teasing it open. Going too hard, it's just going to mess up the front face, but going in like this, gently. Then I can, as I'm going, removing the rust behind. And remarkably, the rust hasn't affected the outer shell of this wing at all. It's just this fillet piece. Right, so you can see now this is all being cleaned out of there. So what this will allow me now is to get a piece of flange like that and basically just tuck it in there. So, but before I do that, I'm going to try and clean this out as best I can. And the idea for me to do that is to get a slit in this like that and just gently get in there and clean that out. So I'll do that before I do anything else, and then I'll work out a strip of metal to go in through there. A mixture of grinding discs and this and that, and I should get this cleaned up. Took a while to do it, but it's worth the effort because you don't want the rot starting there again. Right, before I go any further, I'm going to give this a good smothering with the Halford's Well Through Primer. Right, well that dries off, I think I'll cut a bit of metal to make the flange for that side. Now this one, of course, isn't straight. You see, that's a straight edge. By the time you bend it around, it's still not straight. So what I think I'll do is cut a piece about, what we're looking at, probably about 30mm or so wide, and then trim it to suit. So now hopefully you can see what the idea is here now. So what we want to do is work our way across from the flange that we fitted there to the wing. So we need to make a flange on the wing and then work our way towards it. Having a little ponder to think about this, I think I've come up with a plan B. I think I'll simply come off this 90 degrees all the way down, out here somewhere with a piece, and then scribe from the door to it and cut it off there and back the panel width, and then off my wing up to that, because this is the shape we're trying to follow here, this profile here. So if we force that profile onto this, then the wing will have to follow it. So with this piece now, is scribe that along the back, so it'll tuck into there and along there, and then weld that to that section there, and then work out. I think what I'll do is this has got to have some little shapes in it, the other one. So this is the original one, and it's got these shapes in it, look. So, and I just noticed as well, actually the original one kicks over that way, follow the door across. So I suppose it really matters as long as we're filling the gap, because the idea is just to fill the gap to stop road grime going that way and road wind getting into the cabin from there. Right, okay, so what I'll do first is mark where our little shapes need to be. So we're looking, where are we? Yeah, about there somewhere, doesn't have to be perfect. So one there, one around there somewhere, and if we use them to follow down, we're looking at one there, and one about there somewhere. So once I've got this scribed into place, I'll then hammer form those shapes in to this before we go any further. So let's scribe it into place first. An easier way of doing this may be take this off and lay this on top of there. Let's try that. Things come to you as you're doing stuff. That's a simpler way of doing that. Right, we go and cut that out. Let's see what we got. Oh, I've dropped the boo-boo here. Bother. One from that side, not this side. Silly me. Right, okay. Further scribing needed. That was a silly mistake. I know I've got a big gap there. Okay, let's get this top one in place first, and then worry about where we've gone wrong with the bottom one in a second. Yeah, maybe I'll have to cut across here and redo this one afterwards, I think. Right, okay, we'll worry about that later on. We could do with, yeah, okay, let's mark off where we want our shapes to go. So what we want to do now is replicate these pressings here into there, which are 45. That'll have to be shorter, so 45. 50. Right, okay, so let's write this on there. So the top two need to be 50. That one 40, and that one 20. Right, so the idea now is to press our strengthening bits into them. Right, same as what we've done before using the vise, so we'll pick a size you want it to be. I reckon that'll do me. And hammer them in. So let's move my magnet up so we can make use of that to hold it in place. So the first one is 50. Line that up into there, and make sure we don't get it in the wrong place now. So we want this to form down like, yeah, that's correct, that's where we want it. Right, I think this will do us. Cheap and cheerful crescent wrench. It's got a nice rounded edge on it, with a nice rounded off edge there. So we just gently prune that into there. Yeah, that's given us our shape we're looking for. Just dress that round a bit there. Yeah, perfect. Now I could have got the bead roller out for this, but this is just quicker to do it like this. There we go. Got our strengthening shapes into that too, just like the original OEM panel. Right, wipe away my Sharpie lines while I'm thinking about it. Amazing how Sharpies will bleed through paint, and sometimes I forget to wipe it off and it's a nuisance. Right, back to the car. Now this now needs to be welded onto there so that we can then scribe across from the door. So that's our next thing to do, is weld that into place. I don't think we need to scribe this in a little bit tighter there though first. So I'm just going to want to scribe down there, trim that off so it's just a little bit snugger fit, and then we'll spot it into place. Right, so this is now a nice snug fit. onto there. So what I'll do now is start tacking this into place, and then we can transfer from the door the shape on there. Then we can cut that off to suit us. Right, so we've lost our shape down there because I'm an idiot, but I can work with that after if it really comes to it. I think by the time we scribe into there, most of this will be gone anyway, so that's not the end of the world. There's always ways around it. So my intention now is to basically follow that profile of the door onto there. Right, I think we're getting somewhere. Now if we take that off of there now. Now hopefully, obviously you can see a Sharpie line, but just, I can just see it in the light there now. That's the line I'm going to cut off. Right, let's try the wing in place and see what it looks like. I think that's going to be too far out at the top there. Try it, that looks like it's too big to me. It's not bad. It's not bad. That's not a million miles away there. Well, that's come alright, that is. A bit proud there, but we can, that's because we need to trim a bit there. No, it's probably the answer that way. I need to respot that if my spot has come off of there, and then I'd get a grinder on that and attack that in place. Right, so you can see now, let's get some bit of light on it, the idea, hopefully, of how that's going to work. So what I'm going to do now is Sharpie a line against the wing from that panel now, and that works out where our flange on the wing has to be. You can see now if I press against this wing that we're lining up nicely with the door now. So we're on the right lines here now. So you can see now on here where our line needs to be for our inner panel needs to come to join up with our panel on the car. Now it's a bit further back than the original one was, but it doesn't really matter. It's only there to give support to the wing and stop the road grime going in. So got a strip now about 2 inches wide by about 600 long, cut off and cleaned up, and this will be the basis for my flange on here. However, before I do that, I need to work out my shapes. So we've got a crease. I'm going to go and put a crease in that. I Then all I did was just use a couple of bits of angle in the vise and just pull that over gently. Thereabouts. And then we've got another one down here somewhere, which isn't quite so obvious. Yeah, that's where you want the other one to be. So hopefully that now will follow the profile of the wing. Sort of. Yeah, that's lovely. But what I'm going to do now, obviously this needs to tuck into there, but we've got a shape to lose here. So what I was thinking of doing was this. Simple as that. Right, okay, cut that off now and try again. Yeah, if I haven't made a complete hash of that, that should now slot into the wing. Just like so. So the idea now, it's tempting to bump this over now, but I don't think that'd be the right thing to do at this stage. I think the next thing to do now is get the wing back on, get that and that tacked together, and then see where we are from there. Okay, so what I need to do next is scribe that. So glad I didn't ping those over, because it's not quite in the right place just yet. So I want to get a nice tight scribe on this now. Right, you see now I need to cut this on that scribe. So there's a bit more to be cut off this yet, a bit more to trim it, but we're getting there. Right, so this is become quite a different shape. So let's try that back in place and see what happens. Right, so hopefully you can see what I'm aiming at here. So there's that flange now against the wing. If I press that against there, then get a weld in there and tack that in place, that will make that as one panel. Then I can fully weld it and dress it up and mess about with it. And you can see nice lines along there. Alright, so got that loosely tacked together on there, and it all sort of does what it should be doing, and it all lines up with a wing and all that malarkey. Challenge I got now is getting this off so that I can finish it off. I didn't think that far ahead. Right, with a bit of faffing about and bending, managed to get this back out again. So what I want to do now is tuck that back into there and get a couple more tacks on it with a wing pushed tight against it. I was struggling to get the weld in with it in place and the door on, and it was getting a bit difficult to work with. So I know with the wing pushed tight against it, it fits the door nicely. So that's my plan now, is to tuck it back into here, tighten it all up, and then weld it up. Right, checked and double checked, then double checked again. This is the shape it needs to be. So it's just a case of fully welding this now, carefully, and grinding it up, and we have our replacement fillet. Then I can put it back on the door and try it in place. So with the top bit here, there's a little bit left to do around the top, so we'll do that once it's back on the wing, and around the bottom as well, a little bit of finishing off to do, but these need to be done when it's back on the wing. The main of the welding I'm going to do now, and then dress up. So there we have it all welded up and ground up. See plenty of penetration through, so it's nice and strong. I haven't worried too much about welding and just knock the worst of the heads off on the inside there. But you're never really going to see that ever again. And that's all ready to go back on the wing. So next section now is put it back on the wing and finish off this bit on the top. Before I do that though, I've given it a coat of weld-proof primer just to make sure that we're keeping it as corrosion free as possible. Right, so slip that back into there. And bonk it back onto the car. Then we can play with that bit at the top there. Right, that's where it needs to live. So I've clamped that now onto the wing. And I think before I do the welding on that, I think I'll hammer this return flange back down. And that'll keep that in place then, and put a tack there and a tack there, top and bottom as well. So get a tack onto that now, on top and bottom. Help that keep that where it should be. Right, that'll stop that wandering off on its own little adventure. So now we'll work on just closing this area off here. Don't do anything too exciting with that really, just make a piece simply to go across that to close it off. Okay, the first thing we need to do is make a little piece to tuck into there, and then work out a way of closing that off. Let's see what we got to play with. Bend on that. That's the tiniest, a bit of a little kick on it, so we'll put in there tighter. And then work out what we're going to do the other way around. I think I'll get rid of that tag. That's part of the original piece that came out of the original panel. We'll cut that off and then just close that up behind there. Be a simpler way of doing it. Right, the cardboard I think is in order for this. Yes, that'll do us nicely, I think. Right, let's grab a bit of metal for that. Right, here we are, we can do something with that. Right. Put a bit of paint on that now. Right, that's set now, so shove that back in there. Time to get the welder. So that's that fillet piece finished. I do need to just cut a slot into that as a clearance to go around that there. Apart from that, that's going to close off that panel very nicely. So I should do that now with a grinder and try a fit again. Fillet panel all done and dusted. So that's a nice fit across there now. So I'm happy with that. Our lines line up nicely. I've managed to knock this up a little bit on this corner as well, which has lined that up better around there. So that is, apart from the bubble arch, this wing complete. So that's the rust repairs done on that. And the next challenge will be, for the next video, will be this door gap down here. So you can see it's quite all over the place. But we can do something with it. It's not impossible. There we are, that's another video done and dusted. That's that wing now completely repaired and ready for fitting on the car really. It's I won't be fitting the wings either side permanently right until the last minute. I have found a place near where I live that does complete vehicle shop blasting, so I'll be making inquiries with them to see how much it'll cost once the shell's ready for blasting to blast it and in all the individual panels and epoxy prime them before I go on to the next step. So if I can afford it, that'd be a fantastic thing to be able to have get done. Failing that, if it's too much, I may just take the various bits that unbolt at the bonnet and the wings and that through them and get them to blast that, and then I'll work on the shell with the wire brush slowly but surely myself. There's always ways around it, but we'll see after I made inquiries on that. So thanks again for watching. Another successful repair job, another panel refurbished and rescued, and happy days. Don't forget as well, hit the subscribe button please. We're this close to 2,000 subscribers. We're literally into the 1,960 something right at the moment, so if we can get that above 2,000 before the next video, that would be fantastic.